connecting the dots, connecting his guests to the world, creating more connections. Welcome to The Connection with your host, Jay Miralles, podcasting from the Parkville Studios.
Today I have Jason Hurt, special guest, beyond guest. He's a friend of mine, a leader of men with Chariots4Hope. I'm so excited. I just love the intro of this, so all right, we can get back beyond that. This is such a special episode number 11 for me. So I want to say thank you, Jason, for joining us today and just being on The Connection. And how are you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm doing great, and what an honor to be here. So thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So here's my thing. I want you to just really center yourself, and we're going to talk about Chariots4Hope, but I know a lot of people know what it is. They know how you do it. So let's kind of describe just what it is, how they do it in a brief minute or so.
Sure. So Chariots4Hope, it's a nonprofit here in Omaha, Nebraska. Our focus, our mission is to empower low-income families, individuals, single moms, single dads, to reach and maintain self-sufficiency through aftercare services and reliable transportation. So our focus is transportation, helping these individuals who are moving forward in their journey. They get referred by another local nonprofit, teaming up with them and becoming their partner in relation to transportation. So we are faith-based, Christ-centered, and so obviously the vehicle is important, but our ultimate hope and prayer is that they will experience Jesus through the time that they're with us.
Absolutely. I think that's an important component because here's why. I think there are similar kind of organizations that do great for the community as well. And however but I really believe that your faith is why you are doing this. And we're going to get down and we're going to ask the why here. So when someone says, oh, I heard you guys give away cars, there's a guy named Mike listening right now. Talk to Mike and tell him it's more than just that.
It is. It's a lot more than just giving away cars. It's an actual program. There's a vetting process involved, and so it's really a two-tier system. Our nonprofit friends are vetting them out, making sure that this individual or family is ready for a car, because if you give somebody a car, and we don't give away cars, but if you award somebody a vehicle who's not ready, it's just a Band-Aid to their problem. And so we want to make sure they're vetted out. So they vet them out, they come to us, we vet them out, we give them a drug test, an interview. We want to make sure that this vehicle is truly going to move them forward where they're at in their journey right now. And not only that, but we also want to make sure that the program is going to help them. We don't want to create busy work. A lot of people are part of stuff, and if you're just in this program, just to be in this program, maybe it's not going to be right for you, or you're not going to see the long-term benefits from it. So, so there's vetting involved. It's not giving it away. And part of that vetting process is they do a drug test and interview. There's skin in the game. We completely believe that you have to have skin in the game. And so they come in and they actually provide $500 towards the vehicle. And so once this program's up and running, they've got an investment in it already before it even starts. And so we see just long-term benefits from that.
I think that's important because I think from the charitable organizations who do for people, I think there's sometimes where, there's a term that I've heard in the industry of poisonous giving, which means you give to enable or disable, right? This is more empowering.
Yes.
Because like you said, and I want to go back to the term of vetting. It's really a strict selection process, well thought through and prayed over. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. And it's not a day process. It usually ends up being a couple-week process where, again, our nonprofit friends know what we're looking for. They know, obviously, the individual coming into our program because they've been walking with them for at least 6 months or longer. So it's just two nonprofits coming together and making an investment in somebody because that's what it is. When we started off, we literally had no vetting involved, big hearts. Right.
Yes.
I always say big hearts, no brains. And
That's
so
the story of my life.
We're giving away these cars and we're helping them and praying for them. And that's important. But what we found out is that most of them 2, 3, 4 months down the road, once an issue came up, it's on the side of the road. And
Yeah.
so there's no accountability, and accountability is huge in our program.
I think so, because accountability creates pride as well. I think people think the word accountability and they think, oh gosh, I got to do all these things. I got to do this and I've got to be somewhere. I over the past 4 years, I've learned your process and I've seen you fine tune it. And like you said, it's not like someone can just come off the street and apply. And, you know, and we're not saying that, but we're saying, how many partners do you have right now, organizations referring to you?
Sure. We have around 45 in Omaha.
That's awesome.
So it really is. And so not all 45 are active. I mean, they're there on the table if they need us. But,
Yes.
You know, there's probably about 25% of those that actively refer to us, and that's
But
fine.
they know what you do. They
That's
know
right.
where your heart is, and they
That's
know
right.
it's centered around God and Jesus Christ, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't have to explain to them anymore. They know you.
Yeah.
And they know their people.
Yeah, you know, from my opinion, words are very cheap, and so if they come in here, I can really, I think, convince you that, hey, we're a follower of Jesus and we're faith-based, but faith-based is a definition that's so overly used, and half the times I don't even really know what that means. And so our prayer is that, yes, words are important, but we're going to back it up with action. You're going to see, you know, Jesus Christ. You're going to see the love that we have for him, and of course that he had for us, come alive during at least those 6 months that you're with us. That's our prayer, that actions will definitely overwhelm you.
So if you had to say, just in a roundabout number, because it is a 6-month program, correct, to even earn your vehicle.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's right.
How many hours would you say? And I don't want to compare, but I want people to realize, like, just like Habitat for Humanity doesn't give away homes. They're not in the business of giving away homes.
Right.
You're not in the business of giving away cars.
No.
You're in the business of connecting the right people to the right means to improve their lives so they can make an impact in the community.
That's right.
Am I?
Yeah, no,
putting
you're
the
dead
words?
on. That's right. I know we don't. We did give away cars the first 6 months, but since then we have a well thought out process where it involves in awarding them a vehicle, but they're investing in this program just as much as we're investing in them. So
Absolutely.
it is an investment. Yep.
And I know that you and Michelle are very, connected to this community, and we're going to go through the story, but I think what's more incredible is that you have such a vast reach, but in society and people don't always listen, like myself. We don't hear everything. We hear a lot, but we don't listen. And so we have a captive audience right now listening to you, and I want you to pour your heart, and I want to go back to Jason years ago. Who was Jason? Who was Jason? Always this centered in his faith? Was he always wanting to, or what was he doing before this? Let's go back there, Jason, and bring me to from the executive days.
Sure. Yeah, no, I grew up. I mean, I have a background where I grew up around the church. I grew up in a great family. My mom and dad are probably my biggest prayer warriors. But I grew up in a society, I would say above middle class society, where money and success became a god to me. And so I grew up thinking that I had a relationship with Christ and that I was a good person. If you would have known me back then, Jay, yeah, he's a solid person, all-American boy,
Yep.
great job. But I was definitely as lost as anybody else just because I didn't have that relationship. I didn't have that faith. It was all for show. And so it was just, that's all it was in my life up until just about 5 or 6 years ago, was just playing a game. And so I went after, my dad was a very successful businessman. And so that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a successful businessman just like him. I wanted to go ahead and have a lot of money to do a lot of things.
To make an impact, right? That's what you thought. Because the more you make, the more you're going to help spread it. And the better your life would be, per se.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with money, but for me, in my walk and journey, it became a god. It started becoming something that I worshipped. I put it in front of everything else.
Yeah.
And so I went after it, and I went after it hard. And as a result, I got some worldly and fleshly gains out of that.
Yes,
got some
sure.
good promotions.
Absolutely.
Moved all over the country, ended up in New York at one of the best jobs, in my opinion, of the company. And so, yeah, I had arrived, if you will.
You were in the insurance world,
Yes.
right? And we don't have to name the company, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say top executive
Yep.
in charge of how many people, or responsible for how many?
Close to 500 people.
Whew.
Yep, and it's our biggest profit center in the company.
Yes.
Hurricane Sandy comes through. I'm managing it, right, running hard. Good things are happening. but I was lost. I was depressed, you
Sure.
know, and that was the moment, really, for me, my crossroad, where I realized that I was at a crossroad. I was at going down a road that was very dangerous. I had mom and dad praying for me that my eyes would open up and truly see that what a true relationship with Christ looks like. And so through all of that, here I am going and managing through this biggest storm in our company's history.
Jeez.
And all kinds of, like I said, just goodness and feedback, and just, in my opinion, thinking that, man, I've arrived. Like, after this, I should have some good promotional opportunities available.
And
right?
rightfully so. You weathered them through this storm, no pun intended, but
Right.
you did a great job. And
Right. But miserable.
yes,
Right.
but you were goal-oriented, you met your goals, and you had a lot of money, I bet, and
Right.
a lot of resources at your disposal. Again, I know
Right.
you, Jason, you're very humble, but I just want to paint the picture of what it looks like. In suit and tie guy, or probably, you know, at
Right.
that point. And
Right. Absolutely.
And then tell me, when the shift happened, when did you open your eyes and say, I gotta go?
Yeah, it really just came through all of a sudden. You know, I would say that after that moment, I would say 6 weeks after Hurricane Sandy, back in 2012, I left in 2013 the company. God really started tugging on my heart, and I just started having this conviction, this desire to pursue Him. And so I did. I just really stopped, rested, saying, God, if I've got all this success, you know, from a worldly perspective going on, why am I miserable? Why am I thinking about you all the time? Why am I feeling lost with no substance?
Right.
And so he's faithful, and he revealed himself. You know, Jeremiah 29:13 says that you're going to find me if you seek me with everything that you've got. And I was in that moment where it was game on. Like, I am done. I don't care about money. I want you. You have to show up in this moment for me, though. You have to come alive. And he did, through my prayer, through me pursuing, through me going to church, through me just seeking Him with everything that I've got. He showed up and realized that this isn't the plan that I have for you.
So, still praying, still struggling through that, right? Through your suffering.
Right.
Take us to the decision moment. Take us to the reveal where you tell these people, I'm doing this. What am I doing? What did you tell them?
Right. So I came to the point where I felt that through my time in prayer, God wanted me. And that was one of my prayers, is that if you want me to stay and share my newfound faith in the corporate world and become more of like a corporate missionary, then I'm open for that. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I was at that point where true obedience was what I was after, and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was revealed just through my quiet time that I felt God leading me to leave corporate America, my job. And yes, I went and told them, and of course, a lot of shock, a lot of
What are you doing?
denial. Yeah,
Sure.
just absolutely, like, you're crazy, you're silly. But even in that moment, Jay, I still was just struggling with how this looked and what this looked like. So I didn't know. I didn't tell them that, hey, look, God's calling me to go start a business or a ministry. I was really unclear and unsettled, but just told them that I need to move on. Kind of
Okay.
was the general statement, because I still was very scared. Right? Didn't have the courage and the confidence in my walk yet to tell them. And maybe I didn't even know, but I didn't tell them really what was going on, right? That I'm having this faith movement. I still
Right.
kept that in because
Yeah.
I still had pride, and I was still, what does that look like if I tell them? I'm going to look silly, and they're going to really think I'm stupid.
You were
right?
still into what other people were thinking.
Absolutely. Yep, I was still serving man. So at that point, I just, from their perspective, I just needed to go home and get close to family. And I had to work through that and process that, because I really didn't have answers at that time, other than the fact that I wanted to follow Christ. And
Sure.
I didn't know what that looked like. But
Do you think part of that was just you were frustrated where you were at because you were missing out on life things like with your family? Do you think that accelerated your leaning into Him, versus just...
No, I think it's the power of prayer.
Okay.
There was no circumstance. Even there's been some people that say, well, okay, you managed Hurricane Sandy. You saw a lot of devastation and loss.
Yeah.
Because I was out in the field hands-on. And so, yes, that's true. But no, there was, I'm telling you, that's the thing where I know God showed up, is because there really was no circumstance that drove me to that. I now reflect back, know that it's the power of prayer, that I had people in my life saying, God, open his eyes to the truth.
They were praying for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I came to that moment where, hey, look, it was this season where God, because that's the thing. God's got to pursue you. And so he pursued me and removed the blinders from my eyes, and I was just able to see at that moment. It was that season. It was time, that the power of prayer was answered from the people in my life.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, the part where you left New York and then you came to the Midwest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. So
Tell me about that.
We're actually kind of now knowing that we're going to leave, didn't know where we were going. I'm praying, just saying, God, okay,
Yes.
I know that you want me to go. Before I do that, I probably should have a plan because I'm still trying to take control and try
Corporate
to
guy.
manage this thing.
Yes.
Right?
Business plan.
So I'm going ahead and I've got all these ideas and I was an entrepreneur at heart. I always wanted to do my own thing, but it's like, okay, now I have an opportunity. So I am creating business plans and thoughts and ideas and researching franchises, start my own business, my franchise. Long story short, I actually had a couple interviews, really good interviews. They fell through, and it came to Christian Brothers Automotive.
Yeah,
which
that's
is a
where
franchise.
I met you.
Yes.
And that's where I want to frame this. So I want everyone to know that I met Jason and Michelle networking. And I will tell you, they own Christian Brothers. That's amazing. I want to remember all those times they said, we should get together for coffee. Again, because I was attracted to what I thought you had. And just being honest, right? Business people, business owners, Maple Street, huge, colossal building, right? That's how I saw you.
Right.
And
no, good, yeah. And so that led us to Christian Brothers, and I'm interviewing, and the interview process, Jay, is pretty intense. It's a lot like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Chick-fil-A process, because I went through that too. That's why I'm bringing it up. But it's an intense process. A lot of these franchises, it's pretty easy to get one if you got money.
Because they want to sell it, and they want to make the money in the franchise fees, right?
Absolutely. And so this one was not that. It was like going for a top corporate executive job. And so I went through several interviews, flew down to Texas. Long story short, I found out that it takes 2 years to get a franchise. And I immediately, instead of seeking, I'm in that process where, okay, childlike faith, I'm starting my journey, but I still have made a lot of mistakes. I default back to me all the time. Okay, well, no, I'm not taking 2 years. No, I need to get out now. God told me. So I got to find something that's going to get me out quick.
Right.
And so I kind of went back to them and said, no, thanks. And in that process, they returned a call and said, hey, actually, we have one location that you could probably get into in about 6 months to a year. Would you consider that? Yeah, I would consider that. Omaha, Nebraska. And so, of course, my mouth dropped. I'm like, I'm not going to sell this to my wife, that's for sure. We're in New York City. We've lived in Atlanta, Chicago. So anyway, I went ahead and went and talked to Michelle, and sure enough, got the reaction I thought I would. She said, Omaha.
What's there?
Well, okay.
It's not for everybody.
Right.
Or Nebraska.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, we went ahead and said, no, we're going to pursue it. Let's fly down. It was still in the middle of Sandy. So I went ahead, we booked a flight, went to Omaha. We walked the ground and knew immediately a supernatural peace came over us that we were supposed to do it. As we're praying and walking the ground, and we're like, okay, I don't get it, I don't understand it, but we're going to go back and tell them yes. So we did finish the interview process, got accepted. Boom, we're going to Omaha now.
That in itself, most people won't move next state over or down the street even, right?
Right.
You just, okay, I'm leaving executive life. I'm going to go. I'm going to interview with this company and 2-year selection process. The plan was made for you that it was going to happen faster than that.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely happened faster, and so we were good with that. We give them the notice, and they were just so gracious, this company. They were like, hey, you want to stay a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? I mean, we want you as long as possible. So it was a couple months before we actually left, and then we left and moved ourselves from New York City, U-Hauls. Usually they moved me.
No relo package. Right?
Yeah, no relo package.
It was the Hurt family package.
Yeah, that was scary. Trust me. We would fail in that business big time if I had to make a living. But we did it. We packed it up, moved through New York City to Omaha. Quite an experience and a journey alone. We get here, and we had about a 6-month sabbatical that I was just able to reconnect with my family. I had been, neglecting them and my kids and just for my job and the hours and the intensity. And so it was just a blessing to be able to sit back and just reflect and reconnect and really think about what was most important in my life now. So had 6 months to do that while the building was being built. November or December 2013. We get here in Omaha June 2013. December 2013, the doors opened up, and boom, our business is starting.
Mm-hmm.
And so right out the gate, me and Michelle, through the 6-month process sabbatical, really praying, just felt a heavy sense of a calling, a direction to go ahead and start a nonprofit during that time.
Right.
And just one that says, hey, God was just really revealing to me through my quiet time that, look, I've given you some resources, and I want you to now use those resources, which in the past you were not. You were using them for selfish gain, but I want you to use those resources now for me
Right.
and my kingdom. And so we're like, okay, what does that look like? I got a shop. I've been in the shop business, and so it's like, okay, well, we'll go ahead and repair cars because I've got a repair shop and help
Right.
single moms.
It fit perfectly.
Yeah, it made sense, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So a lot of my friends that own shops, they do this. It's not anything new. They'll go ahead and fix up a couple cars a year and kind of give back to the community.
Yep.
So I was going to do the same thing. That's what I thought that meant. And so we went ahead, and as we were doing that, and I was developing the business plan, because that's just what I do. I probably didn't have to, because I wasn't thinking full time. But
I know how you think now, though. I get it, though. You have to be prepared.
right, be prepared. And I'm filing for the 501c3. And so anyway, that's about a 6-month process. That's done.
Yeah.
We're ready. We're really alive, but we're nothing, right? We have no cars, supporters, no.
Right. Just an
Just
idea.
a name, an
Yeah.
idea and a name, and then boom, a car comes into our shop, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a total loss.
Mhm.
So the owner's like, I want to donate it. Who can I donate it to? Well, our service manager knew we were going ahead and creating this idea, and he's like, hey, we've got a nonprofit you could donate it to. Okay.
Okay, here
So
it goes.
here we go. We got a first car, right? 6
Yeah.
months after we open our doors.
What do we
and
do?
We don't know what to do with it.
I mean, that's typical of a new nonprofit.
Right? And so we went ahead then at that point, next couple months, really put some thought into it, polished up some things, crossed our T's and dotted our I's. And anyway, teamed up with a couple nonprofits. That was part of the idea. One of them, Julie with Rejuvenating Women, went ahead and submitted a referral.
Yes.
And so we said, we got a car, we got a referral, let's do this.
Did you know her before this, or not really?
She came into our store, and just really, it was a God moment.
Yeah?
She came
You
into
just
our
know.
store to get some work done. We sat down and just, boom, realized she started one, we're starting one.
I know.
Just really connected.
When did I meet you? About how many months into your Christian Brothers
So the
automotive?
B for B would probably be about a year into it.
Okay, so it was,
about
okay,
6
good.
months after all this when we had the symposium.
Yeah, that's so crazy. That's so crazy.
So we get it. We go ahead and go and get the car ready. We go show up. It was pretty cool because Channel 7 was doing a story on this particular recipient.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, man, our first one, we're getting a little news play,
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely, because I do
okay.
remember that, too.
Yeah, like that's pretty cool. So anyway, we blessed this individual and with the vehicle. And after that blessing, me and my wife walked away, both just kind of looked at each other in the car and saying, I think we're supposed to do this full time.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. I don't know what this looks like. We just came here, moved our whole family to start this business that's making no income, right? So we're struggling there, and we'll continue to struggle. And now we're supposed to walk away from that and do a
Right.
nonprofit? Like, that was complete nonsense.
Take me back to that first vehicle, and we don't need to name the recipient, but just take me back to that first vehicle. And when you handed that keys over, when you did the reveal or however you did it, what are the few things that struck you right away about that?
The look in her face, the emotion that came over. Like, the first time I'm doing something with substance, right? Like, I worked and lived for me to make
Right.
money.
Right.
Yes, okay, so I can have a better life, blah, blah, blah. But it was self-centered my whole life, right? And so the first time doing something from a different place, from a place that was to honor God, was to, through that process and obedience, it's now going to impact this single mom and help her move forward. And to be able to see that moment in her eyes and her emotions was just overwhelming.
I mean, I think too many times in this community, there's a lot of people that do good, but they don't get to witness that, right?
Right.
I mean, it's good. I'm glad that they get to do it, but Jason, something fired within your heart,
Right.
and connected you to that individual from thousands of miles away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now you're 4 years old. Let's bring you. Or is there anything else that? Oh yeah, there is a part to that I need to ask you about. So you were still at Christian Brothers.
Yeah. So after that blessing, we're at Christian Brothers.
Still a business owner.
Still a business owner, and we had this conviction that we were supposed to do this full time, but then at that point, it was a roller coaster ride between me and my wife.
Yes.
One moment I'm all in and ready to tell them, and then the next moment she is, and we never were together. It was just one was unsettled, one was at peace, and so we, through counseling and just prayer together and quiet time, realized that God doesn't want us to move forward until we are both in agreement. And so we weren't. So we just realized we got to sit, rest, and wait. And so that was about another 6 months for that, right?
Yeah.
We still went ahead and continued to work the nonprofit, and, blessings, were happening.
But you're still holding on to safety, your business.
But, yeah, absolutely. And I guess part of that uncomfortable feeling or unsettledness was the money.
Absolutely.
My God, I still was, even though that as I'm growing in my walk, I still am struggling in some areas, which usually always came back to financial and money. I don't know how that looks. Like, this is crazy. If I do walk away, now that reality's setting in and the emotion of the blessing is over, right?
And here's a bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what does this look like? I immediately, again, instead of pouring into Christ, I went back, defaulted to myself, and started thinking, how am I going to manage this?
Right.
In any way that you looked at it, Jay, it didn't make sense. Not on paper, not from a business perspective.
Right.
So that's where I was unsettled, because I wasn't completely surrendered to Christ and having faith that He would provide.
You're still trying to be the businessman in your mind.
Yes.
How am I going to provide for my family? How am I going to lose these nice things?
That's
right? Let's just call it what it is.
Absolutely. Yep. And then when I'd have moments or seasons where it's like, okay, man, I got some strength. Then Michelle didn't. So long story short, we battled back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
We came to the point where we both were at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally we went ahead and called Christian Brothers and said, hey, we're supposed to go and start this nonprofit. And they're like, that's great, Jason, good story, but you need to go ahead and sell the business. I don't know why you're telling us.
Right.
I mean, it was obviously in a very graceful way. But
of course, yeah. In a short conversation that you're making now.
So we're like, okay, well, then I guess now's not the time, even though that we both felt at peace. So we trusted God, went back and said, we'll refocus on our business. 30 days later, Christian Brothers calls back and says, we've been praying as an organization and just want to let you know that we're going to go ahead and let you walk. And all the fees and expenses, which was a big bill, Jay.
Debt-free.
Maybe $80,000, maybe more.
That's a testament to that organization, though.
Oh, man. Absolutely. And it's a testament to my God.
Absolutely. Amen.
You know
I
what I mean?
should say, yes, absolutely. Yes.
And so He moved that mountain for us to go. He went ahead and changed their heart. Not only did they come in and waive that, but they found somebody to come down here and replace me so that I was out in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
2 weeks, boom, we got somebody, you're done. And I'm over here in a roller coaster ride of emotions, praising God, but also like, now, man, the enemy's hitting me hard. Like, what am I going to do financially? Like, I'm not a wealthy guy. I got some savings and I have a good job.
Right.
And I was good with my money. But, man, that savings, as I'm calculating, is going to go away pretty quickly if I got to. So, anyway, long story short, they went ahead and...
Don't rush. We got some time.
Okay. They came in 2 weeks later. Got a guy that's taken over. Me and Michelle are out now. November 2015. We literally stepped out of the boat. No supporters. Maybe we had a couple board members. No money coming in. I mean, just really no clear-cut plan other than the fact that we knew that God was calling us.
Right.
And at that point of my life, which was the first point ever, I was more concerned about being disobedient to the call than I was how I was going to get money.
Right.
So we did that, and after about a month of basically being on our own, and we're seeing some movement but not fast enough, what do? I default back to going ahead and trying to take control away from Christ.
So you try to make some money.
Yeah, make money. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm working for a company, and I'm interviewing on the side. This company I'm working for is 100% commission, so it's not even. So at the end of the day, I'm trying to find a job like I used to, and I'm getting turned down.
To get comfortable.
What you
knew. Yes. Yes.
And Michelle, man, it's just God really spoke through my wife. Michelle said, what are you doing? I know these companies are saying you're overqualified, but we just left a situation, a business, right?
Right.
God opened that door. He moved that mountain, and now you're trying to go right back to it to try to, have some sense of false security and money.
She's
so I
powerful.
just,
She's
man,
incredible.
it just opened my eyes, and I just kind of repented and asked for forgiveness and said, God, I am all in. I trust you completely. And so I'm just now saying, nope, no more job hunting. This is what you've called me to do. And so I am in, trusting that you're going to provide. So during that time, as I'm praying about, just providing and what do we do, it's just a heavy, heavy conviction to write a letter to tell all of our family and our friends what we're doing.
Yes.
So I did that. I'm like, okay, God, I really wrestled with that, Jay, because
Because you don't want to ask. Because you don't want to ask for anything.
Ego, pride. I used to loan money. I mean, it was me loaning money out. I wasn't in that situation where I had to ask for it.
Right.
And now I'm having to ask for it, and I'm having to be bold in my faith. And I'm
Yes.
going to be obedient.
Those are the two hardest things to do in life, right?
Oh, man.
Fundraise and express your faith.
Yeah.
And then heights is next, I think.
Yeah, for me it is. So, but I did. After about 2 months of wrestling with that letter, I went ahead and just kind of, in my opinion, just humbled myself and saying, I'm going to pour out my guts, my new relationship with Christ, what He's called me to do, send it out to everybody we know, thinking, okay, that's how God's going to provide. I send it out, and boom, crickets, right? Nothing.
And you're like,
family
what?
members, nobody really, right? Outside of my mom and dad, and Michelle's mom and dad, but outside of that, nobody. Like, they're looking at us like, you're crazy. We don't understand it. You're putting your family in jeopardy. Why would you do this? You could lose everything. It was all these questions and just pounding us. Like, it's just, I'm not supporting that craziness.
Right. There was no affirmation from even 5 to 10 people saying, you guys are on the right track,
Right.
It was almost abandonment.
Right. So I just kind of really, again, went back and wrestled with that. And it just came during my quiet time and just realized that God didn't have me do this as a way to receive revenue for the ministry. He did this to completely destroy my pride and my ego. To say, look, now that you're in and you're all in and you've completely surrendered, what in the past was just very hard for me, but, I needed you to destroy. I needed to get that pride and that ego completely destroyed before I can use you. And so I was in a point now where complete humility.
Yes.
Where it's like I have nowhere else to go, Jay.
Right.
But to Christ.
Right.
In those other areas, I was working on some, going to Christ, but in financial, I still was relying upon myself. And now this was like my last breaking point for me. So once that happened, and I realized, God, again, forgive me. I trust you. You have everything. You're my source for everything. For finances, for my family, health. Man, just looking back from that point forward, God has provided every single month in unique ways. But that first year and a half, we didn't take a paycheck, but my bills were paid, Jay, and they just came in unique ways. And it's just going back to God's word saying, I will provide for your every need. I am your source and only source. And that came alive in my life, during that time. And so that really increased my faith, built up my strength, confirmed that what I was doing was exactly what God wanted me to do, regardless of what man thought. And and then now we're to the situation where, we're now going into Lincoln and a few other markets.
That's incredible.
We're collecting a paycheck now through the ministry. So, it's just... It really is overwhelming when we reflect back and see, hey, there's nobody else. There's no explanation. I'm not that good. I'm not that talented. I don't have that much money. There's no explanation other than Christ getting me through this moment.
And you're listening and you're abiding.
Right.
And like you said, you even explained to me sometimes, like, when you think you're at the dire end, something just shows up, whether it's a person or resources or money or a donation or something.
Yes.
And 4 years, right?
Yes.
4 years.
4 years.
How incredible does that make you feel? And when you talk to Michelle and you sit there sometimes, when you do get a couple minutes, what do you guys talk about?
It strengthens our relationship. We can't help it. I know sometimes when we're talking this, you can tell by people's reactions, okay, I get the God thing, but what? Tell us more.
I get the God thing. That's so funny because they want to compartmentalize that.
Yeah, I don't know how else to explain it, Jay. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't.
You don't have to.
I just have to go back. When we talk and have those moments, it's just an overwhelming feeling and attitude of gratitude for Christ, not only what he did on the cross, but for his faithfulness. Right? So what it does, you asked me earlier, the why. I want to know the why. The why for me is just complete obedience. Like, Christ doesn't want us to go out there and do things for him and create these great ministries and do all these wonderful works for him. What he wants, he tells us in his word, the two most important things. First is your intimacy with me, with Jesus Christ, your
Number one.
relationship with me. And second ministry, most important ministry, is with your family. That's the two most important things, right? And so for us, it's just saying we want to be obedient in those areas. And so right now, he's called us to Chariots. That's the other thing we constantly do. If he takes us away tomorrow, then that, as long as I know he's in it, I don't care.
Right.
We're going to go, and we're going to go wherever else he tells us, because now my life is completely about obedience to him and his word and nothing else. Nothing else matters to us. So that's really the why, is just the fact that we're supposed to do this because God's calling us to do this, not because I have a love for cars, not necessarily because I'm not a good person, not because of any of those things. Apart from Christ, none of us are good people. But we're doing it because I have such a love now, and that didn't come overnight. That's the process of the last 5 years, but it's because of my love for him and wanting to be obedient to what he's called us to do. That's it.
And people listening right now to this point are getting more insight too, because I think, again, with the busy schedule that everyone has, they all don't have the fortunate time to spend and hear the story from you. I know we try to get it out at events and sometimes on the web and sometimes on TV, but Jason, someone's listening right now and saying, I want to turn to God too.
Amen.
Talk to that person right now.
Absolutely. And, that's the thing I really do believe God's saying through his word is he's looking for people. The word says the laborers are few and the work is mighty. It's plentiful. And so I think he's looking for people that aren't necessarily well-educated, well-connected, tons of money, right? I love the saying that God does not call the equipped, he equips the called. And so he's looking for people that say yes. He's looking for people that say, I will be all in, not people that will be 1 foot in and 1 foot out, that I still want my cake and eat it too. My story is about that as long as I had the 1 foot in, it was a mess for me. I didn't have that peace. Things weren't happening. But once I completely surrendered in every area of my life, not just the areas that were easy to give up,
right,
but in every area of my life, and that's when God started saying, I can use you, right? And so God is a jealous God, and he does not want anybody else to receive glory but himself. And so that's just where we are, is that you can connect with God. You can be all in and be obedient. It is possible in today's world, even with all the craziness and all the temptation and all the yuck and nastiness. It's very, very possible to be a follower and disciple of Christ in today's world. But you have to be obedient. In order to be obedient, you got to know God's word. You know what I mean? So you got to get connected with community and people that will pour into you and invest in you, right? That want to spend time and be authentic with you, that don't care about anything else in your life but you and your relationship with the Lord. So it is possible, but you have to be intentional. I think a lot of people sit back and say, hey, once I get this call or this magical sign, or my heart's just going to change one day, or no. I mean, you have to be intentional, and you have to be aggressive and want it and pursue it. Jeremiah 29:13. I would just say rest in that and meditate on that.
That's awesome, man. So I'm going to put the links to your organization, Chariots for Hope. I'm happy to be a volunteer for your organization. How can people get involved? What do you need from them, from the general public? What can they do to help Chariots for Hope?
Sure. I think a lot of people, I shouldn't say that, but I would say, please, and this is just this isn't a cliche, pray for us. You know what I'm saying? Pray for us. That's more important than anything else. If I've got people out there that are Christ followers, pray for me. Pray for this ministry. There's a spiritual warfare going on, and we do not want to mission drift. We want to stay aligned and centered with Christ, and we want to put him first in everything that we do. And as soon as we stop doing that, this thing will shut down, Jay.
Right.
It'll shut down. So we need strength to continue during the temptations and trials and desert seasons. We need strength to keep our eyes on Christ, so we don't compromise. So prayer is, you hear people say that, but I couldn't mean it more. Pray for us. And then, of course, the typical stuff. We need volunteers. We need cars.
Right.
We need financial donors and supporters.
Right. We have 2 events coming up. Can you just describe those 2 events real quick, just the dates, or maybe not the dates, but just tell us when they're coming up.
Yeah. So, man, Peter Fink, who owns Certified Transmission, amazing guy, went ahead and opened up his one-of-a-kind car museum to us.
Right.
And that's coming up in May, and that's an opportunity to come in and really just be able to dive deep into some amazing cars. He does a wonderful job going over and explaining the cars, where they came from. He's got a collection of guitars and all kinds of other cool stuff. But that's an opportunity, smaller event, more intimate event, but an opportunity to support and give back if you're a car guy.
Good.
And then this year we have our annual fundraiser. We're calling it the Cruise Night.
Yes.
And
that's
so
awesome.
we have that in September, and that's just each year it seems to take on a different face and personality.
Yes.
Because that's just who we are.
That's going to be exciting. That's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
it always is exciting, but I think it's getting bigger and bigger and more people involved.
Yes, it is. It's just, and again, this is just God growing it and wanting to go ahead and just show what he's doing in this community. And so we really this year want to focus on, we don't have a keynote speaker. Our keynote speakers are our recipients.
Yes.
And so we really want to raise them up, and they got amazing stories, Jay. So there's going to be some wonderful stories that are coming out from them, and then just some fun stuff. Yeah, some unique stuff.
Awesome. Well, Jason, I want to say thank you. And, this is going to get downloaded like thousands of times, and they're going to hear your story, and you're going to make an impact, and we'll share this over and over again. I think it's really important. I'm going to turn it into a 2-part series. So I just want to say thank you. You and Michelle have been an incredible blessing in my life. You've changed my life. You're a leader of men, and I think people need to know that. Beyond the blessings, beyond your organization, I think people just need to know who you and Michelle are, and they do, but now they'll have an even closer look at your words. Your words.
Well, brother, I appreciate you and your friendship and all that you've done to support us, so it's just an honor to be here, and man, thank you.
Man, this is incredible. So I want to say thank you so much for listening to The Connection. Jason Hurt. More information on the bottom of the show. I appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you soon.